Hey everyone, welcome back. My name is Eric, and today we're going to be going over overtraining versus undertraining. This is a pretty big topic because it covers, everything to do with you and your life and, whether or not you do enough of something or whether you do too much of something. And I can go on a complete tangent about what we do too much of and, the way it relates to our work, the way it relates to our daily living, how we're taught to do more than what we need to. But I'm going to try my best to not do that, but I might. So I might edit this video quite a bit because of it, but I don't know yet. I'll see how this goes. So first and foremost, I'm just going to start off by saying that exercise should be supplemental to your daily living. This is something that we should start considering because for the work that we do in our work and for the work that we do outside of our work, this is stuff that we have to really start considering because this is the primary way of how injuries occur, is when we do too much of something and, not enough of what we actually need. So that's why I'm covering this topic. That's why it's so important. And this is, in a way, this is the second part to injury prevention. The first part I've already posted by this point. It's the movement analysis. So checking to see which movement hurts or doesn't hurt. And then obviously what does hurt, you would want to avoid. That's usually the thing that you've overtrained on. The undertraining concept is what we're going to touch on first because it's a little bit more simple. And usually when you've undertrained on something, it means that you either have to do it or you might have to wait until you do it because of the amount that you might have overtrained on in something else. That might actually be affecting your ability to do the thing that you are undertrained on. So to get started, and I do have a lot of notes here because I do not want to miss anything. I want this video to include everything, and it may be a little bit longer because of that. But again, this video is going to be probably one of the most important videos that I release before releasing all the exercise movement related videos. So to get started, we're going to start with undertraining. So what is undertraining? It really just means that you're not doing enough of something, and maybe you're not doing anything. Maybe you're extremely sedentary, so you do not move or you do not use your muscles as much as you should. And that causes quite a few problems, especially as you get older. Your activities of daily living, you might notice a problem as you get older. Things start becoming harder, such as lifting your arm or anything above your head, pushing things, hell, even pulling things. We want to make sure that we get a good balance of these movements throughout our life, just so that we don't lose the ability to do them. But, if we don't know to do them, then that becomes a bit harder. Because I worked with a lot of people who didn't know any better, who, they just thought that doing the things in their day, like watching TV, doing house chores, was enough. That isn't usually the case after a certain point. So that's why you have to consider the movements that our body is capable of, and then thinking about doing them every so often to maintain them. Because if we don't use it, we lose it. That's a thing that I usually like to live by, but then if you overdo it on it, then you can hurt yourself. So we'll get into that in a minute. If you are new to exercise, and let's say you're brand spanking new and you've never done it before, and you're in your 40s, 50s, maybe even your 60s or 70s, and you've never exercised, but now you've gotten into it. So delayed onset muscle soreness is the thing that you would probably be less accustomed to. And let's just put it this way, it would suck. You would have less of an understanding of what it is. And it might not, it's going to be a foreign concept to you. So it might scare you. And that's why having an understanding of it earlier on is better. But if you don't have that understanding, you're going to have a harder time. And you're going to have a bit more of a fear of it. But hopefully then you can develop a healthier healthier connection with it. So now also lack of motivation. So when we don't exercise, so let's say we've exercised before, we know what DOMs are, but well, we've gotten out of the habit and we are having a hard time getting back into it. That motivation is almost physiological because, oh, man, being lazy is just so nice sometimes. I would know, I got addicted to it and I still sort of like it, but I like to think now that I have a healthier connection with it. I do my exercise when I have to. I need to do a bit more, but I mean, one step at a time, right? But it's really that motivating factor that is the hardest hump to get over. If we do not get back into it at some point, it only gets harder. And yeah, it's a mental thing. It really is mental. But then our body also gets weaker after a certain period of time. So then it becomes more physiological. And yeah, you definitely want to get back into it at some point if you are able to. If you're going through a form of rehabilitation because of an injury, then yeah, the time that you get back into exercise will be completely dictated upon how long it takes for you to recover from whatever you're recovering from. So I'm actually going to talk about influencers and their influence on you because you have to think of it this way. Influencers are people who make money through YouTube or through Instagram or whatever other platform that exists that I'm not aware of. These people do nothing throughout their day except posting videos. Hey, gotta get those clicks, right? You gotta keep in mind and have a skeptical mind that these people do not do half as much as what you do. They might not sit as much. They might actually have a more healthier lifestyle because they get to go outside. They get to do things that you otherwise don't have the time to do because you're too busy working or taking care of your kids or anything else. Honestly, influencers are probably some of the worst role models that you could ever look at, or most of them anyways. I wouldn't say all of them because I, for example, follow quite a few influencers, but not exercise influencers. I actually stay away from a lot of exercise influencers. In fact, a lot of the influencers that I used to follow and still kind of do follow, they're all injuring themselves now. Why? Because they've been doing things too much over an extended period of time. They might have been doing it right to a certain degree, but at some point in their training, they've hurt themselves severely because they were doing something just a little too much. So, I mean, yeah, you can only really trust these people so much, and I honestly wouldn't. I would trust ones that have more, or actually I would say ones that have less of a impact on you physically. And economically, you got to be really careful too. Don't trust meme coins or cryptocurrency altogether. I would just stay away from that kind of stuff. Anyways, we're going to move on out of this topic. So, why do we need muscles? Why is training important? Because you do need to exercise. Exercise is extremely important. So, muscles pump blood to the heart, while the heart pumps blood away from the heart. And so there's that balance. So if you have a really strong heart, but your muscles are really weak, you're gonna have low blood pressure, okay? So your blood is gonna have a harder time pumping back to your heart, and you're gonna have a harder time. And so some of the symptoms that may exist when you have low blood pressure. Hey, this is future Eric, just realizing I completely butchered this part. So I'm gonna be reading the symptoms from the Cleveland Clinic just because I'm not a doctor. So symptoms include dizziness or feeling lightheaded. You might feel like you're gonna faint or pass out. You might also get nausea or vomiting, blurred vision. You might have fast, shallow breathing only because the heart is so much stronger and it's pumping blood out more efficiently than what your muscles are actually pumping back into your heart. You might also get fatigue or weakness. You might feel tired, or you might even be confused. High blood pressure, also called hypertension, is something that is what we would then refer to as the silent killer, only because there aren't very many defined symptoms like there are with low blood pressure. But you might notice that you might get headaches, heart palpitations, or you might even get nosebleeds, only because, well, your heart isn't keeping up with what your muscles are pumping to your heart. So that's why it's really important to exercise everything, not just one thing, not just two. Well, yeah, okay, well, I guess I'm only really talking about muscles and heart. So you got to exercise both. Okay, so now we're going to go into overtraining. So overtraining can happen when you're doing too much. And one of those big ones that actually someone in my comments mentioned is rhabdomyolysis. So rhabdomyolysis is just when you're going into an exercise too aggressively, too intensely, and too often. So you're not actually giving your body enough rest, enough break to recover. And so when your body is trying to recover, you're just tearing at your muscles even more. This leads to the muscles seeping into your blood supply. And well, what happens when it goes into your blood supply is that your kidneys try to filter out the protein, which causes some pretty big problems. So essentially you're not allowing for your muscles to recover, the muscles disintegrate, and the proteins go into your kidneys, which is essentially muscle death. And the causes is overexertion, medications. So you could actually be on medications and this can happen, which obviously if you're working with a doctor, you would make sure or want to make sure to tell your doctor about the symptoms that we're about to talk about. But then also if you have any other underlying medical conditions. So symptoms would include weak muscles. So you're not getting stronger, you're getting weaker. That's not the goal of exercise. When you are exercising, you are breaking down your muscle at first, and then what happens is your muscles will get stronger afterwards. You have to give your muscles time to recover though. So you shouldn't be working through DOMs. If you're working through DOMs, stop. If you work in a particular way where, let's say, you're lifting overhead or you're in construction and you're banging through the pain because you worked out in the gym, I would recommend that you think about what you do in your daily living and stop doing that in the gym. In fact, do the opposites of what you're not doing. That's probably the thing that you need more. That does happen quite often, and I've worked with a few people like that, where the pain just gets worse. And so you don't want that. You want the pain. You don't want the pain. you don't want the pain. Pain's not, you don't want to work through pain. That's just not what we want. But then again, that's where our ego comes in, especially the male ego. It's one of those things that's hard to overcome if you do not understand what you're doing. And I hope this video helps with that conception. And so, you would get muscle stiffness. So it's almost like you're not stretching, but it's more like the muscles are trying to prevent you from hurting yourself further. Almost like cramping. I had something similar where I overworked my arms and my muscles would cramp. But I mean, I got an injury and I learned the hard way. But I mean, I got to recover from it in an easier way than what some other people then hurt themselves in a worse fashion and then have to go through surgery and stuff like that. Thankfully, I didn't have to go through that. Muscle pains and tea-colored pee. So that just means that you have protein in your pee. So the darker your pee gets, especially if you're working out and especially if you're not eating that much protein, if you're eating just enough and your pee is still really dark, that tells you a problem, but it also correlates with the pain of your muscles and working through it. So don't work through pain like that. It's not worth it. Okay, so working ourselves to death. So when we overtrain, we're doing something too much. And like I said just now, if you're working through a pain and you keep doing it, it's just going to cause another problem or more problems. Hey, this is Future Eric, just realizing I forgot a really important note. So tendonitis is something that can happen if you do too much of a specific or many specific movements over a period of time. So what happens is your tendon is basically tearing and it doesn't have the time to recover. Which in a way you could also say that your muscles are tearing as well and they might not be getting the recovery that they need. The only difference is your muscles have more blood circulation and blood supply than what your tendon would have. So your tendon actually has a little bit less of an opportunity to recover than your muscles. But let's say you're still pushing through that pain and you're just ignoring it, then you can also develop something called tendon-OSIS, which just means that's the complete tearing of the tendon, which would essentially mean you'd be incapacitated. You wouldn't actually be able to do the work. You'd probably even need surgical intervention, which is why it's extremely important to allow your body to recover and to give your body the rest and respect that it deserves to become stronger. And I'm also going to add sitting. So if we were to sit for too long, or even stand for too long, without the necessary balance of walking, laying, or doing specific exercises or movements that could help to balance out specific muscles that are pulling in specific directions, well, that could actually cause spinal disc slips. This can also go for the flexibility, mobility of your muscles. It's any form of imbalance that can cause your muscles to pull in specific directions that can pop the spinal discs out of place and cause a herniation or spinal slip. You don't want to do that. And in our society today, we do way more than I guess 20, 30 years ago. Before, we used to have some kind of balance, but now we're kind of losing it again. We never had it before, but our grandparents, our great-grandparents, and our ancestors fought for this, and now we're losing it. And it's due to a form of complacency, where we just think, okay, we just have to do our job. We just have to listen, and we just have to do what we're told. I'm sorry, but no. That's not the right answer anymore. We actually have to stand up for ourselves and fight for our rights. That's where the little protester in me comes out. So, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to be posting the reference to my previous videos that I've already released, because I'm not going to talk about it in this video, but the numbers of how often you should work out, I'm going to post those I might put some references here in the video, the info cards, and I'll put them in the description as well, just so that you have reference to the numbers that I'm referring to. But yeah, you should only be working out so much based on you. And if you overdo it, obviously cut it back a bit. But yeah, I'm going to refer those to the videos that I've already made. And I'm also going to refer you to how muscles grow. I've already talked about that, where you need break. I can't remember which video it was, but it's a very important video. Again, I will reference it in my description. And I might also try to get an info card here too. There's going to be a bunch. There's going to be so many things that I'm going to refer to because there's just way too much to talk about in this video. Fatigue. So when you exercise way too much, you will get tired. You will need rest. Rest is a necessary component to gaining muscle, to gaining strength, to maintaining yourself, and to feeling good. If we do too much, like I talked about lack of motivation when starting an exercise, or if you haven't already exercised, then getting into it is going to be really hard. But if you do too much, you're going to have a lack of motivation too. The only problem is when you're young, and especially for boys, for men, yeah, it's kind of hard to convince a guy, hey, slow down, unless they're taught by a professional, by someone who's been through the same thing. Sometimes you got to be, it's an aesthetic thing for some reason. Well, yeah, you got to convince a man, hey, you got to stop. If you're bigger, it's easier, but when you're smaller, it's not. So like for me, I'm not the biggest guy, but it's also because I lost my progress due to hurting myself too many times. And then I kind of gave up. So, but now I'm back into it because I've noticed the problem with how we currently do things, and I'm trying my best to put in my 2 cents. Yeah, so now, okay. Now what I'm going to talk about, because I really don't want to talk too much about overtraining, even though I can go all day about it. We really do too much. I'm going to talk about over and under training. So the combination, because there is a problem with when people do too much and not enough of something. There's a necessity of balance, and if you don't have that balance, you're going to get an issue. We don't want an issue. So I got it written here. Having an imbalance that causes confusing and hard to understand symptoms. So that just means that you're going to have more issues caused by imbalances, and without the understanding of how your body works, those are going to be really hard to figure out. That is the main reason why I'm releasing the videos in the capacity of which I'm releasing them. I'm not even going to release program planning just yet because that just confuses things even more. That'll be the last thing that I that I release. So program planning will be like the end stage of everything that I have to put together. It's going to be the culmination of everything. But when it comes to, a movement analysis video that I'm releasing, or that I've already released, it's going to have a document in it that already has all of the exercises in it. You can use that document and do your research before I do all my releasing to figure you out, and you could use it to exercise, but then you should always come back after a few months and do a movement analysis and figure out what feels good and what doesn't. I made that list based on everything that is necessary in movements of your body or to correlate to your muscles. So yeah, I do really hope that helps. Okay, so, refer to movement analysis video. Haha, I already did that. Pronation and supination. So I didn't mention this in my last video. I meant to, but I didn't. But this is the main video that I'd want to cover it in. So when you work out, I'll use this arm. This is pronation. Almost got that mixed up. Pronation. So when you pronate your hand, I want you to watch my elbow. You notice what just happened to my elbow, right? It just went closer to my body. But when I rotate my hand outward, my elbow goes more outward that way. So if I were to do a row pulling like this, and then in comparison, doing a row like this, there's a difference. And so in that consideration, you're going to work a different part of the muscle. So it's not just about the angles. It's not just about the crossover. It's also about the way that you rotate your hand. So you can even do a neutral grip, and it's going to work the back in a different way. Hell, if you do a push, it's going to work it in a different way. So pronation, supination is something that really makes a big difference. I'll use me as an example. So when I started working out, I only did this for bicep curl. And I rarely ever did this. And when I did, I actually felt the weakness of the lack of ability that I had to do the prone grip. The reason is simply because I did not have any recruited muscle fibers to do the work. And whenever I did go into it, I didn't do it often enough to gain that strength. So that's why it is very important to think about the different hand positions, the alternating grips. I'm going to mention that in all of the exercise videos that I do where it relates to. But that's something that you really should consider, because if you don't consider it, then you'll gain a muscle imbalance. So actually my muscle imbalance was the fact that my bicep was really thin. It was always really thin. And I noticed that I was able to crack my elbow really easily. It still kind of does, but it's only able to crack really easily because of the fact that the muscle is one-sided. So the same actually goes for my tricep. I only did triceps with my hand facing downward, so the prone grip. Oh, what did I say before? I think supine? I can't remember. Anyways, whenever I did the tricep push down, I always did push down and I always did skull crushers. I never really worked the outside portion of my tricep. So I learned that it had a lot to do with my thumb. So when I push down like this, it'll work the inside of my tricep because my thumb is facing inside. But the minute I rotate my hand outward, my thumb, I would then work the outside of my tricep. And then the same goes for the bicep. So thumb facing outward, working the outside portion of the bicep. That was the part that I was strong in. I was weak in this one though. So working the inside of the bicep. So something to really consider, because Yeah, it's not really something that you emphasize on in school, which is kind of depressing, especially in my biomechanics class. Not really focused on. Okay, steroid use. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, actually, this is the last one. So, almost done. One more thing. Steroid use. The reason why most people go towards steroids is to enhance their either strength or their aesthetics. And I was guilty of almost doing it. I bought a bottle, I let it sit on a shelf, and I like it expired. I was afraid of getting into it because when I bought these drugs, it was one bottle. I think it was Dianabol. Yeah, Dianabol. I was going through forensic science. I was actually studying the human body, just the deeper connection, like the DNA, microbiology, all of the smaller things of the human body. And we actually learned about how steroids work in, I think it was molecular biology? No, chemistry. I think it was chemistry. Yeah, we were learning about where most steroids come from, which is usually animal byproducts. And we learned the necessary balance to doing a cycle. And I only had one bottle and it was so expensive. And my first thought was, if I do this, I'm gonna screw myself up real bad. I know that because I was I took courses and my teacher was really, really educated on it. And yeah, I just let it expire. I was like, you know what? I'm too afraid. It's not worth it. And I would rather do this naturally so that I can learn better. And I have to say I have much more of an appreciation for it, mainly because every injury that I've had so far has been an injury that I could easily recover from. And I have learned so many lessons from them because of the fact that I didn't use an enhancement drug that would have just complicated things so much more. Steroids are not worth it. They will complicate things, and it is seriously just the better option to work with what you naturally have. And I've been hearing a rhetoric which is, oh no, steroids are the future. No, we're getting deeper into the science. What are we talking about? Our body is so capable of doing these things that we do not need an enhancement drug to make us better. Steroids are the problem here. We shouldn't be emphasizing on them. We shouldn't be promoting them like that. And yet I see really big YouTubers emphasizing on steroids like they're the new thing. Yeah, they're new, but they're not going to save us here. I'm pretty sure we started with steroids to help us in a war. And now we're looking at them in a way that is ridiculous. The younger population is looking at them, and it's only going to mess them up in the future. And like, I don't really care if you comment and say, I'm on steroids, go ahead and debate me on this, but I'm right, you're wrong. Unless you have a condition that requires that you take steroids, then that means that you were told by your doctor, hey, listen, this is going to help you. But that's different. That's significantly different, especially if it's for cancer treatment or something. These are controlled uses, and they're uses that you may not be on it for the rest of your life. If you are, well, that's unique to you. But what I'm talking about is for people who do not need them, for people who use them for pure enhancement purposes. So we really do need to stop normalizing steroid use. We have to start teaching people how to do this stuff properly, and doing too much of a good thing is not a good thing. Doing not enough of a good thing is also not a good thing. That's the whole point of this video, is to help you understand that overtraining is not good. So doing too much is just gonna give you a bad result. Doing just enough though, that's where the real meat and potatoes is. You want to do things just enough. And so where is the just enough marker? Well, I kind of mentioned it already in some of my previous videos. That's why I'm going to link them in the description. But that's pretty much it for this video. You don't want to do too much of something and you don't want to not do anything at all. So anyways, I don't want to make this video too long. If you have any questions, concerns, or feedback, go ahead and leave it in the comments. I'd love to have a discussion with you. If you like this video, go ahead and leave a like and subscribe, because honestly, I'm going to be releasing so many different videos about the muscles, the movements, and I've actually got them all posted in the community post region on my channel. If you go there, you're going to see the whole schedule of me releasing all of the videos, or the whole schedule of what I'm going to be releasing. Anyways, have a good one, take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, bye. Gotta glamour up. Do I look pretty? I look wonderful. I look beautiful. Okay, let's do this, bitches. All right.